Christopher Peckley was killed in a road rage incident in 2021 in Arizona. But in what could be the first of its kind use of technology, he spoke to the court during sentencing for the man who killed him. His family used artificial intelligence to give him a voice at the sentencing, an AI victim impact statement, if you will. CNN spoke with his sister yesterday on why she did this.
The imprint that he left was one of thanksgiving, thankfulness, forgiveness. And so I just wanted to think, well, what would he say in this moment? And there's no way that I could echo that because it's not how I felt. And then I thought to myself, well, why can't I just write my opinion piece on what he would say? And I thought it would be more impactful if we brought it to life via AI.
The man convicted of manslaughter was sentenced to 10.5 years, and now legal ethics questions are surrounding this case and the use of AI in the sentencing hearing. Joining me now is Charlotte Alexander, professor of law and ethics at Georgia Tech's Scheller College of Business. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
So the use of AI, let's start with first, this is not in the part of the trial where it determines innocence or guilt.
That's right. This was in the sentencing phase of the trial.
And so what difference does that make as it relates to some of the ethical questions of the impact on the judge?
Sure. Well, what we think of as the traditional rules of evidence where you hear objections for hearsay and that kind of thing are looser during that phase. And there's a lot of latitude for people who felt the impact of that crime to express that impact to the judge so the judge can take that in as part of his or her sentencing decision making.
On appeals, how much does this matter that they use this technology? And they weren't his words, obviously.
Right. Well, we don't know yet because this is really new and we don't know whether an appeal would be filed in this case. I think the core legal question here is whether there was what we think of as prejudice or a due process impact on the rights of the defendant, where the judge might have been overly swayed by this particular statement, given that it was AI generated.
Do we have a portion of that, a soundbite we can play to hear this? Let's watch.
This here is a true representation of who I was, not how the courtroom portrayed me. So I would like to make my own impact statement.
I mean, that's remarkable just to watch. Typically, having watched this phase of the trial, the impact statements, any relative or friend who wants to come up and speak is allowed to. Do you expect we'll see more of this now that it's happened?
Well, I know that Arizona, particularly the judiciary there, has formed a committee to try to establish some rules around this sort of thing, and not just AI in sentencing, but generally in the courts. So my bet, if I were to place a bet, is that we probably will not see as much. I think that there are a lot of concerns being raised here about the ability for this sort of technology to create this sort of sort of emotional impact on the judge, which might sway the judge's decision making, as we were saying before. So I would suspect that we're going to see some regulations to tighten the use of this sort of technology.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the way in which they presented the deceased here, the victim, was just against a plain white background. It could be him as a child. It could be versions of him. It could put him at the crime scene.
Right, and I think that this particular video, the central message was about forgiveness, which is interesting here. It wasn't about revenge and retribution, but I think to your point, even though the video contained a disclaimer and said this is AI, it still has a real impact. And so I think we want to put some guardrails around the use of technology in this kind of way.
Yeah, it is still very compelling. Charlotte Alexander, thanks so much.
You're welcome.